Hey everyone, how you doing? It's your boy Shaheener coming at you with the Pokemon Babblers podcast. Of course, as always, joined by Bano over here.
What's up, chat?
What's up, Chad? How you doing? It's your boy.
I can say
And
that now.
hey, so we're on season 2, episode 20 of the podcast. This is going to be going over two different games, which are pretty much the same in terms of gameplay, but we're going to be more so talking about the story. We're going to be talking about Detective Pikachu and its sequel,
Meh.
Detective Pikachu Returns, which, at least
Meh.
as of this release, is the most recent spin-off game. So, yeah, Bono, have you played either of these games?
No.
You're kind of better off. And so I do want to preface as well, we are not going to be talking about the movie as much as, because we're mainly just talking about the games, because the story is slightly different from the movies to the story. There's a lot of, similarities, but there's some parts where it veers off. Detective Pikachu, the first one, came out on the Nintendo 3DS March 23rd of 2018. So this was a year after the Nintendo Switch already came out. So it's like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we still releasing this kind of content on a system that's pretty much dead at this point?
It was probably in development hell, I guess. Maybe they were just ran into problems and they were like, well, we already made the game, so we might as well release it.
Right, exactly. Might as well just throw it out there because actually in Japan, I didn't know this until I was compiling the notes that the first three chapters of this game were released as a playable demo called Detective Pikachu: Birth of a New Duo, and then people that purchased, or actually no, you did purchase it. It wasn't a free demo. It was, you purchased it, but you got a discount on the full release of the game when it came out 2 years later.
Wow.
That's ridiculous.
That's investing right there.
Yeah, it's investing for something that's like, you don't know if it's going to come out. What if it did so poorly that they never released it? And it's just like, for the 5 people that bought it, then they're just screwed with just a 3-chapter mid demo. Um, it was developed by Creatures Inc., who also, as we know, previously developed Pokemon Ranger and the Pokepark games. So they're not
Yeah.
yeah, it's not like their first
They're old
rodeo.
hands at this, but they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel at this point.
Yeah, exactly. They're pretty much relegated to spin-offs, it seems like. And so the gameplay that we really have here is basically you're playing as a character named Tim Goodman, and you're working side by side with Detective Pikachu, and you are solving
It was
mysteries.
right there. It's right there. Everything changed when I said the name Goodman.
Good. So basically, you're collecting testimonies from people and Pokemon regarding certain situations, and you're kind of going through a whodunit scenario. So you're going to interview characters, you're going to observe things in your environment. Then at the end of it, you kind of go through oh, what was this character doing here? It's like, how do we solve this mystery? And so that's basically the gist of the gameplay. It doesn't really get much more than that. Honestly, I don't really have much to talk about in terms of gameplay. That's pretty much it. It's just like,
I get the premise of it, but it's just very dumb. It seems like it's very dumbed down and kid friendly, which
yeah,
I guess if that's what they were going for is cool.
yeah,
But like I said before, I think there's a lot of potential of the medium of a Pokemon driven story when it's not just kid friendly mumbo jumbo stuff.
yeah. Because I
Right.
feel like if you were to do something along the lines of like the Telltale games, I think that it could be done pretty well if it's like a story based linear progression kind of thing. Whereas maybe you might have some like gameplay kind of stuff, maybe something a little bit more actiony, but it's very kid friendly. Like this isn't something where it's like if you're a diehard Pokemon fan, even then just look at it. I'm just gonna say that right now, even though we're only just a few minutes into the episode. Just look at it. Look at the cutscenes, or just watch the movie. Just something like that, because the gameplay, it's not. It's pretty tedious. I remember playing this when it came out. I was in college. Yeah, I was at university, and I was playing it in the library. And after a while, I was like, God damn, this is such a slog. It made me want to go and do more actual studying for my classes rather than playing the game. It was that boring. The first couple of chapters were okay, this is cool, this is fine, and then you realize it's more of the same the whole time. And I just replayed it recently as well, and no, It was just
Right.
like, let me finish this game. Like let me just be done with it. So the game is broken up into 9 chapters, and they're in different environments, but the gameplay elements are the same. And the only random factoid I had about this is that they have a very slight nod to Sherlock Holmes. I guess if you want to read into it, is that the main hub for like where you're talking to Inspector Holliday is at the Baker Agency, and that could be a possible parallel to Sherlock Holmes' address, which is 221B Baker Street. So that's the only random thing that could be thrown in
A
there.
little on the schnoz there.
Yeah, yeah, it all changed when Goodman was brought up.
Yeah, when the name was yeah. Oh,
But
you have a quota.
yeah, pretty much. I felt like that we'd be more focusing on the story of this one because that's what the intention of this is. Like we're like it's not really here to be like gameplay. It's not like we're playing Pokemon Ranger where it's like it's all based on the gameplay.
Right.
This
There's
is all
hardly
on
any
story.
gameplay to like talk about. You mainly just like read text and then choose the right decisions at the right time.
Yeah, exactly. And occasionally you might have like a quick time event, which is so slow. It's like one of those things where it's like the circle will come down, the ring will come down. You press A at the right moment, and that's it. And it's so slow. It's like it's not meant for like gamers. It's meant for kids. So, you ready to talk about the story?
Go for it. I feel like I watched the movie, so I got everything. So
Yeah,
why bother?
you have a lot of it, honestly. I mean, there's some things that are different, but we could also interject while I'm going through all this. So, I basically just kind of like rewrote what they had on Bulbapedia, but I did play through it twice. It's whatever. So, anyways, before present day, Detective Harry Goodman and his Pikachu get in a car accident while in a case, and Harry ends up missing. Pikachu loses his memory and ability to use moves in this accident. So, Tim Goodman, which is Harry's son, goes to Rhyme City to look for him, which Rhyme is also a character for one of the gym leaders in Scarlet and Violet now, so I don't know if there's any parallel. That would be the weirdest crossover ever. So immediately after arriving, he witnesses a couple of Apom steal a girl's necklace and offers to help get it back. He then encounters Pikachu, who claims to be a detective, and then he's also somehow able to understand the Pikachu, like they're able to like communicate to each other, like verbally, and they work together to interview people and Pokemon to find the necklace. Then Pikachu takes Tim to the Baker Detective Agency, where he finds that Harry was looking for a certain Pokemon incident, or was looking into a certain incident before disappearing. So Tim stays at his dad's apartment while investigating, and while there he finds a map with all the locations and places that Harry was looking into. And so the first place that they go to is Litwick Cave, where they meet two girls from the local news station, Amelia and Miko. They are working with GNN. And they end up getting stuck in the cave due to a Glalie going berserk. And it has like bright glowing red eyes. But they get the help of a Drifblim to escape. And Pikachu then takes Tim to the Hi Hat Cafe, which is owned by Pablo, which Harry went to all the time. So they were buddies, and Pikachu is obsessed with coffee. Like, completely obsessed.
They touched upon it in the movie, but is Harry actually a cop?
He's a detective.
Yeah, so he would be, so he's got a badge.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Okay.
he aligns with the cops. He's,
All right, because in my head, I'm thinking of a good cop, bad cop situation where Pikachu just like jumps over the table.
I want
it's
justice!
Like, tell me what you know!
Where
And
is
it's just a little
Rachel?
Pikachu with like his tiny little hands, just like shaking like a Machoke or something.
Where's the trigger?
Right?
Tim and Pikachu then discover a broken fragment of a vial found from the Pokemon Comprehensive Laboratory, or PCL, and they go there to investigate. They get in and they claim that they're like a new part-time employee, and they use the name Tim Ottman. I don't know why, but I guess. So they search for a magic vial, and they find one in the storage room. And Amelia and Mako show up the next day to do a story on PCL's research. How coincidental. Basically, but a Trevenant then goes on a rampage with also glowing red eyes like the Glalie that we just talked about. And it is subdued by, basically they're able to subdue it, and Gengar is the one that angered it, I believe. It's like the Gengar was kind of like hiding in the shadows, and then it kind of like got to the Trevenant, and then it like freaked out. Then they discover a secret lab underground that one of the researchers that works over there, Carlos, had been using to manufacture a chemical called R, which makes Pokemon go berserk, and it also makes them insanely powerful. So basically now we're kind of on the trail of like, okay, maybe Harry was looking at this
Almost
whole
like
R situation.
shadow Pokemon, you could say.
In a way, yeah, yeah, kind of in a way. So a few days later, they head to Capucci Island in search of the founder of PCL, whose name is John Walls, who did research on R 10 years before. They find that Dr. Walls is being detained by Rhyme City Police, a Lieutenant Brad McMaster, who suspects that he's the cause of a fog, causing the Pokemon on the island to be injured. And Brad is such a dick. I know that we're supposed to align with him, but he's such an asshole. I hate him. Anyways, so with the help of Pokemon Ranger Milo, maybe that's a parallel to, or an early allusion to Sword and Shield, but
Maybe.
Tim and Pikachu go to the lake via a secret path and discover that there's a masquerade creating the fog to protect them from an invasive Crawdon. They prove that that Walls was innocent by discovering Luis Mulligan, a lead developer of a resort on the island, had the Crawdon delivered there to get rid of Walls. So Walls is holding out for the resort to be built, and so this is basically like an intimidation tactic to get them out of there, and so that way they could just get rid of his property. And so a couple months later, Walls reveals that Harry had visited, or a couple months prior, sorry, Walls revealed that Harry had visited him and asked him about R, which was intentionally supposed to be a miracle drug created by Mew cells. But Mewtwo cells were used instead, and so that is probably what caused the Pokemon to go berserk. So I'm sure that Mew cells caused them to get like a stat boost or something, but with Mewtwo being kind of an unhinged character. Basically, he suggests that Tim goes to Fine Park because that's where Harry was planning to go next. So back at the Hi-Hat, Tim and Pikachu meet up with Amelia and Mako, along with their boss, Roger, who requests that they go to GNN next day to look at the footage of an incident that happened at Fine Park a year earlier. They then go to Fine Park, and they interview Pokemon about the incident where Charizard went berserk during a parade, and that caused them to close down the park indefinitely. The pair also find out that there's a Skorupi that attacked Harry when he visited the park, and Tim was given a locket by one of the Pokemon that Harry had left behind. Then the next day, they go to GNN, and while they wait for the footage to be located, they meet Ethan Graham, who's the president of GNN, while on a tour. They are then asked to assist on one of the TV programs after one of the performers lost her Perugly. And that character is awful. I think her name was Olga, and she was insufferable. I could not stand her. It's like the definition of like a textbook like prima donna, like a TV, like I'm an actor kind of thing. So during a rehearsal,
not a Tobias Funke kind
no,
of actor.
Yeah, I guess in a way like a Tobias Funke, but she's just totally awful. So during one of the rehearsals, another performance expensive violin is destroyed in an accident. Tim and Pikachu find out that the violin was actually replaced with a fake by a person named Max Warhol, who had planned to sell the violin and make some money.
That tracks because like I think Stradivarius violins are like ridiculously expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if that's the one they're referring to, but it kind of seems like it.
Probably. I mean, they didn't mention Stradivarius in name, but I mean, you could probably presume. When they finally review the footage, they find that Keith Norman, the assistant director of GNN, was present during the incident. I think he starts to reveal his true colors as you see the footage, and he tries to escape to the rooftop, and they get to him, and right when he gets up there, he escapes with the help of Noivern. So he gets away, and so he's our enemy right now, is Keith. But next day at the agency, Harry's locket reveals to have been a camera containing photos of a warehouse at the wharf. So after finding the warehouse, they infiltrate it with the help of a Spinarak and Pansage, and they then meet Walls' former assistant Simon, who is being held captive and forced to incubate Mewtwo cells for R production. To find out who's truly been distributing R, Tim and Pikachu hide in a storage unit to follow the shipment. They then find themselves on the SS Prime Treasure, which is a luxury cruiser ship. Tim and Pikachu find out that the shipment was carried into a room guarded by Krokorok. And Amelia just happens to be on the ship to cover the Pokemon Carnival that's happening in Rhyme City that night. So another
Very
coincidence.
suspicious.
Yeah. They then meet with an elderly woman named Rose, whose luggage had been swapped with a Kofagrigus mask. The mask. She then brings them to meet the ship captain Walter, who's been observing Amelia's interview with a guy named Gino Farina, who's like a very famous chef. And when the mask disappears suddenly, the duo determines that Gino's Kecleon stole it, So that way they could use it to obtain a rare recipe book from a secret auction of stolen goods that's taking place in that guarded room from the Croc Rock's guarded room.
Mm-hmm.
So Tim and Amelia use Gino's ticket to get into the auction, and Keith appears to be auctioning off a vial of R. So Keith tries to escape, and when he's caught, he's arrested by Inspector Holiday, who's been kind of like... He's been kind of like the person who kind of tells you where to go, and he's kind of acting as like your father figure during your adventure. So he's been there since the beginning. I forgot to mention him earlier.
Right.
So Keith then reveals that someone from GNN will be dispersing R at one of the chutes. I think they discover that it's going to be at the carnival. They find out that at 8 p.m. that night that R was going to be dispersed in multiple different forms, as a liquid, as a gas, and as a capsule form. And so Holiday arrives to notify them that Keith revealed to have planted a fourth type of R, and they find that the R dispersing machine is in the clock tower above Central Square, and after dismantling it, they find that Roger was a true culprit after learning of R's existence and setting up attacks in an attempt to monopolize Rhyme City's media outlets. Yeah, Roger escapes after taking Amelia hostage, and then Pikachu, in the midst of all of this, is finally able to use Thunderbolt and use that on his Noivern to subdue it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, having fulfilled his promise to Mewtwo, Pikachu makes a choice, which it's not really explained. It's just kind of like throughout the game, you like randomly like talk to Mewtwo, and he just finally makes a choice and he falls asleep. Mewtwo then reveals that Harry's still alive and that Tim is still determined to find him.
Well, that was interesting. If it wasn't just like, covered up in a bunch of kiddie stuff and was more of like the Telltale-ish kind of game, it doesn't have to be like blood and gore and guts. Like, it just has to be like a sense of danger. Like, if they're going to a black market auction, like, and, they get caught, like, if Tim gets roughed up, like, he doesn't have to lose teeth or, get like his, mutilated.
Or if there's Pokemon there that have attacks, like what if these Pokemon are a little bit more aggressive towards him? What if there's a hard mode on this, where it's there's more like quick time events or something of that sort? Maybe you befriend some Pokemon in it, and then you could have a very quick battle. Like it doesn't have to be as fleshed out as main series Pokemon games, but something where it still feels like a Pokemon game.
Right. I feel like the early Pokemon manga nailed the, what do you call it? The danger and the suspense, because obviously they're not gonna kill him. Obviously that, but felt the suspense. There's a whole thing where Red's fighting Giovanni and the Beedrill legit has the stinger right to his throat and draws a little bit of blood. I'm like, oh damn,
yeah,
he means business, right? Obviously we knew it wasn't gonna skewer him, but still.
Well, that could have had venom in there, could have killed him.
Right. Also, there's the whole Arbok and its head cut off, thing by the Charmeleon. That's in there.
Right.
Which they then retcon by saying, "Oh, look, it grew everything back because it still had its head."
Yeah.
Right. I don't need to see Pokemon getting killed. I just need to see the suspense be actually built up there.
Yeah, this isn't Happy Tree Friends or Pal World or something. Characters don't need to actually die. Maybe something gets turned to stone by Mewtwo. That something like that could happen, because that's still kid friendly. It's and then just Detective Pikachu's tears will bring Tim back to life or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it, but you said that they used the Spinnerack in the other one to get into the room. What is there a mini game where the Spinnerack crawls on the wall or crawls through vents?
So basically, you're up in these scaffoldings, and you're trying to find a way to rappel yourself down. And so Spinnerack uses its web, and then you're able to climb down on the web. And Pansage is one of the workers over there, and so you use that to kind of scope the scene and things like that. But Spinnerack is just use its web just to make a string down. It's like a rope.
Because I'm thinking a way they could probably make this game better is if they follow the Sly Cooper style, Sly Cooper 2 specifically.
Oh my god.
Where they have each Murray and the Turtle and Sly each have their own specific play style and do missions and stuff like that. So the Spinnerack, they could tie a camera onto its thorax and then have it be a little spy and stuff like that. And go around.
That would be cool. That would be really cool.
Or
oh my gosh, can we just talk about Sly Cooper instead?
Yeah, the Gengar that aggravated the Trevenant that could like because I think the Pokedex entry for Gengar is like they live in shadows, so that could be like the
Hmm.
tracker. Like they could like just like like hey Gengar like follow that guy, and then
Yeah.
like you follow Gengar's little tracking device, and then they could find out wherever it is.
Hmm.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, there could
And
have
they
been a
could
lot more
they could
like
also make mini games like
espionage. Like,
that where
yeah.
like if he's crossing the street, like you could I don't know if it's like at night or something, you can see like headlights turn on and like you could like dodge the dot like as Gengar like dodge into different shadows while still following that guy.
Hmm.
I feel like there could have been a lot more done, but it also at the same time it's like how much effort do they want to put into a side game? It's also on the 3DS, so it's not that powerful,
Yeah.
and I don't think they have the imagination to do anything like that.
Yeah. If they trimmed down a couple of the chapters and made this more of like a straight up adventure game, then that would have been really cool. Like along the lines of Sly Cooper, like you said, that would have been perfect for this. Or even like
Mm-hmm.
had they, I mean, I don't think they would have ever done it because the budget would have been way too high. But had they released this like on the Wii U as like an adventure game like Sly Cooper, I think this game would have been critically acclaimed as like a Pokemon spin-off, at least. In Pokemon spin-off terms, it would have been acclaimed. But people don't really seem to talk about this one. Nobody cares about it. And so
Right.
people like it got immediately overshadowed by the movie because like nobody cared about this game at launch. People still don't care about it. And then once the movie came out, then like I'll tell people like, "Oh yeah, I played the game." They're like, "It's based like there's a video game for it." It's like, "Yeah, that came out first."
Right.
So, and of course, like the movie's infinitely better. It's actually like for like a family movie, it's probably one of my favorite family movies that's come out in the past few years. Like I really enjoyed it, like way more than I thought I would. And that's not just bias of like, oh yeah, it's Pokemon, but it's like it's funny. Like the story is kind of gripping, at least for a family movie. Like it's really enjoyable. So, yeah, I just wish they could have like fleshed this game out a little bit more.
I don't know. The real the you can put it up right here. The live action Mr. Mime gives me nightmares.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they made them hyper realistic in the movie, and it's just so freaky. But honestly, like I'm cool with it. Except for Mr. Mime really does freak me out. Charizard kind of freaks me out too with how scaly it is. Like it just kind of looks
Right.
weird. But I mean, I'm down with it. But like seeing like Bulbasaur was really cute, and yeah, I'd give this one like I give it like a 4 out of 10
Mm.
if I were to give it a rating. Yeah, it's not really a game as it is like a mid story. It's pretty
Right.
much all it is.
It's kind of like it suffers from being itself because I can't imagine they gave this game like a ton of budget. I can't imagine they devoted a ton of resources to it either. They're
Yeah.
just like, hey, we need a new spin-off game. Here's $250,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
What ideas do you have? And somebody was like, oh, like they're in the room and they're like, well, there's this and there's this and there's this, and then they're like, oh, Detective Pikachu, and they're like, that, go for that.
Yeah.
Oh well, we need a little bit more money. You only got $250,000. Make it work.
Maybe this was like a way for them to kind of like subliminally advertise the movie or maybe get I mean, I don't think this got them any extra funding or like they've made them much profit, but maybe this is just a way to be like, "Hey, this is a new IP that we have, so we're going to make a movie on it."
Yeah,
And so
we innovate.
yeah. But I mean, I'm glad that we got the movie out of all this. Regardless, like out of everything here, I'm happy that we at least got one movie. Because it doesn't seem like they're doing a second movie. Like that, nobody in the studio is like interested in making another one.
I don't know. Nothing is dead in Hollywood, so we'll
Yeah,
see.
yeah, exactly.
Although at this point, those two have to be like what, at least 6, 7 years older now.
Hmm. Yeah, because they wrapped up the story pretty well in that one. I feel like they have to do something else to be a completely original story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they wrapped it up very well in the movie. But anyways, so 5 years later, we finally get the sequel, Detective Pikachu Returns. It was released for Nintendo Switch on October 6th of 2023, and so the game was officially announced in 2019. So
The
this
year
was
after.
yeah, it was announced the year after, and there was no other news about it until 2022. And then even in 2023, it didn't have an official title other than just being called the Detective Pikachu sequel. So they really had to brainstorm to think of the word returns, it seems like.
There you
Yeah.
go.
So,
They couldn't have done like Detective Pikachu: The Mystery of R, or like Detective Pikachu 2, or Detective Pikachu: The R Chronicles.
yeah, the disappearance
Or-
of Harry.
the disappearance of Harry or Family United or something like that. Anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. They like workshopped a bunch of names that are like Returns.
Yeah. Let's get into the plot, because basically the gameplay is the exact same. There's a couple parts where like you use a friend Pokemon to help you with certain things. Like you'll have a Growlithe that'll help like find like a trail to like a character, or like you'll use a Darmanitan with his brute force. But that's the only difference in gameplay. Other than that, you're still solving puzzles, like basic puzzles. You're still interviewing Pokemon and people. Pretty much the same stuff. Just
Right.
yeah, so 2 years after the R incident, Tim and Pikachu continue to serve Rhyme City as detectives. And at a ceremony where Mayor Howard Myers is honoring them for their efforts, it is thwarted by a berserk Corviknight. They investigate the chaos before returning to the ceremony. So, the next day, their services are enlisted by Inspector Holliday to assist the police with an investigation at Sanjeev Dennis's mansion, where a rare jewel called the Aurora Drop has gone missing. Sanjeev's butler, Brandon, is accused by police and by Sanjeev's wife, but Sanjeev insists that he is innocent. Tim questions everyone there, including the new employee, Larry, and they find enough evidence to determine Brandon's innocence and enlist Sanjeev's Growlithe to track the culprit with his heightened sense of smell. They run into Tim's classmate, Rachel, who's also the mayor's daughter, and her friend, Jessica. Rachel requests that Tim helps with a secret thing, so they go to Tim's apartment later that evening.
Oh.
They briefly encounter an odd scientist named Charles who performs a brief health exam on Pikachu, which is really weird. He's just like very quirky and just like awkward. So the duo then deduce later on that the real culprit is Larry, who's been working with an unknown accomplice, and that the Aurora Drop was swallowed by his Cramorant. Although it spits up the jewel, a mysterious cube that's on Cramorant's back activates, and it swallows the jewel again and escapes. Larry insists that he had no role in that said escape.
So Larry's guilty of stealing, but he has no idea like how the Cramorant escaped.
Well, the first part was the thing. Like, yeah, he was basically tied in with the first swallowing of the Aurora Drop. But that cube on his back, he has no idea what that is.
Also, I feel like a way to like capitalize and like kind of like flesh out the story there, because I'm assuming Sanjeev is like really rich if he's got this jewel, and like a mansion and stuff like that. I think a cool little thing would have done is if they made a Hisuian Growlithe, and like because it's in the future and you know Hisui is obviously in the past, that Hisuian Growlithe is like a rare breed of Growlithe, and that's like a sign of status that he has like a Hisuian Growlithe.
That would have been cool. Yeah,
right.
Or like I'm surprised that like they didn't have like a Furfrou, because it's like fancy dog and all that. But
right.
No, but that would have made sense.
That would have been cool if he had like a dog, like not a dog collection, but like he had like a bunch of dogs, and so he had like Furfrou, Houndour, Growlithe, Hisuian Growlithe, and like Hisuian Growlithe is like
Yamper.
Yamper, stuff like that.
Something where they're like, especially like, if they want to emphasize the value of the Hisuian Growlithe, that they like coat it like in jewels and stuff like that, or like a necklace has a chain on it.
Going back to that, when this game came out in 2023, right? Oh, so Scarlet and Violet was out. I was going to say, if they were cool and did what they used to do before Scarlet and Violet dropped, they could have had Darkspun, Grievard, and Mastiff in this game too.
There was no like Gen 9 Pokemon, unfortunately.
As like a hint to like the next game, or like, you know, like how we saw Munchlax in XD and Rescue Team.
I feel that like been cool. I feel like this game probably would have been out in like 2021, but with pandemic and everything, I'm sure that like it pushed everything out. But yeah, so also Tim and Pikachu have still been staying in Harry's apartment in this whole time. I wonder how he's been paying rent. Yeah, so basically Tim's mom and sister are visiting for the ceremony.
He hasn't. They've been squatting.
Yeah, they've been squatting. So Rachel arrives later on and stays for dinner. And during the meal, Pikachu randomly falls unconscious and sees memories of Harry, informing his wife that he wants a divorce. Which I played this whole thing on stream when it came out. I fucking lost it. It was just so out of left field. He's just like Pikachu just passes out in his macaroni and cheese, and he falls into this dream sequence. And it's just Harry's just like, I want a divorce. Like, what the fuck? Nice. But I'll play the clip right here. So,
Irene, we need to talk.
What is it?
I'm dead. I want a divorce.
Oh, shit. Bruh.
I'll take care of Tim wants to work for me.
He's just leaving.
Where is this coming from?
What?
Sorry.
He's just left.
Harry, there must be some reason.
Oh my god. What?
Sorry, Irene.
Harry,
Really? He's just like I want a divorce. I'm out. Once he awakens, Rachel expresses that spending time with Tim's family reassured her of her concerns and doesn't need to talk about her issues. She then suggests to meet up with Professor Trevor Gordon to learn more about the Aurora Drop. So the trio then goes to the Southern Ruins where Professor Gordon's at, but they only find his assistant Chris. The professor has apparently disappeared into the ruins a few days before and hasn't returned yet, and now the ruins are covered with snow and ice. They solve some puzzles to get into the ruins with the help of the Professor Slowpoke and some other Pokemon that are nearby. They sneak past a rampaging Galarian Darmanitan, which we get some Darmanitan representation here, which makes me very happy because that's my favorite. And then later on, they meet up with the Darmanitan, and it reveals that he had a number of other Ice-type Pokemon here, but they were abducted. They were abducted and they were placed in the ruins. And so they put snow and ice around to make it feel more like home. Mm-hmm. And so, working together, Pikachu and Darmanitan find their missing friends and Professor Gordon by breaking through the walls of the ruins. The main entrance is then closed off, and they are locked inside. A Pokemon Ice-Cube helps them out as they escape, and they hear a mysterious man approaching who attempts to steal Detective Pikachu. They pursue this man, but are attacked by a cube-wearing Mamoswine as he escapes. So Tim then asks Professor Gordon about the Aurora Drop, who believes is the dormant form of an extraterrestrial Pokemon. So as they're heading back, the trio see Mewtwo escaping a swarm of Beedrill, and he's carrying Harry's dead body. Or, well, lifeless body, I should say. Not dead. Lifeless. Mm-hmm. So after Mewtwo is hit, the Beedrill takes Harry's body and flies off. Pikachu tries to ask Mewtwo about what's going on, but the residents that are there witness the attack are freaking out, and Mewtwo leaves just to avoid further issues and conflict. Before they can investigate the group behind the attack, Pikachu is arrested by Officer McMaster from the previous game for allegedly destroying a Slowpoke fountain. So to prove his innocence, Tim and Pikachu are working separately. So Tim is on the outside and Pikachu is in jail.
Pikachu's in the clink.
Yeah, he's clink-clang.
In the Hooskow.
Yeah. So Tim and Pikachu work separately. So Tim and Rachel are investigating the fountain while Pikachu talks with the other detained Pokemon.
Well, Pikachu has to join a clique.
Yeah. So while in custody, all the detained Pokemon are shivving Pikachu. No, they're forced to wear the same cubes that were on Cramorant and Mamoswine, which is discovered to be a control device that controls any Pokemon that wears it. So Pikachu is able to befriend a Luxray who helps him.
So he joined the electric Pokemon clique.
Yeah, I mean he has to.
He has to, right?
Yeah. So the Luxray helps him sneak into the office of Will Butler, the chief of Pokemon Protection Bureau, by going through the vents. He finds a detained Ditto, and from various documents that Chief Butler is being paid to wrongfully detain Pokemon by an organization called Unitas. Tim is able to work with Brad to confront Chief Butler, as they're both suspicious of his activities. Pikachu and Luxray are able to break out of custody with the help of the other Pokemon, and Tim proves that the incidents were by Ditto, and Brad then arrests Butler, but the remote used to control Pokemon is destroyed before they could even look at it and research it. Pikachu shows Tim a document that he hid, suggesting that Unitas is planning to get Jessica next, which is...
Please tell me there's a visiting center with the glass, and Tim has to get the phone, and Pikachu's
there is.
You gotta get me out of here, Tim.
There is. Literally there is.
Good. You gotta get me out of here, Tim. Yeah. Also, I need $50 in cigarettes.
Yeah, I need about $350. And then I realized that it wasn't my friend Pikachu, it was actually the Loch Ness Monster.
You ever eating poker blocks made out of toilet water?
Yeah.
They ain't good, Tim. You gotta post my bail. I can't stay here with these animals.
I tried to make some Merlot in the toilet, just wasn't the same.
I'm trying to make some coffee in the toilet.
So as Tim preps dinner, his mom drops a wedding ring, and Pikachu picks it up, and he falls into another flashback, and reveals that Harry requested a divorce mainly to protect her. Mm-hmm. So when he comes to, he witnesses Irene telling Tim and his sister that Harry didn't take his wedding ring with him as he left. Irene is Harry's wife, and she is confident that he didn't actually want a divorce. Which, I mean, I feel like is more of like a coping mechanism rather than actually like him not wanting a divorce.
Right.
But yeah, so the next morning the trio head to the bamboo burrow to check on Jessica, and they all head to the bamboo forest to get charcoal for a pizzeria that she works for. As they go further into the forest, Pikachu gets multiple flashbacks of Harry investigating R in the same place where they originally met. So as these flashbacks occur, Pikachu gets mixed up between his actions and what Harry did. So the two are then joined by Pikachu's cellmate Pangoro, who he then realizes that was his old friend Pancham that he met in the forest years prior. So when Rachel and Jessica disappear, the duo get Pangoro to use his strength to help them get through the forest and eventually find their friends captive by another man controlling a golem. So after the golem is defeated, Jessica reveals that the kidnapper is a Unitas member, and they already got what they went there for, which was a flash drive containing research from Rachel's mother. The drive was given to Jessica for safekeeping out of fear that it could be used to harm people and Pokemon. And to be more specific, it suggests a way to connect people and Pokemon's consciousness. And so after they make sure that the girls are safe, Tim confronts Pikachu about the inconsistencies of his memory. And they realize that Pikachu's memory and Harry's consciousness are combined in Pikachu's body. So Pikachu then recalls that during the accident, Harry was about to die, but Pikachu was able to convince Mewtwo to save his consciousness in Pikachu's body, but have those memories hidden away so it doesn't mess with Pikachu's own memories. So then their next target is to investigate Unitas and try to return Harry to his body. Because Harry's not dead, he's just unconscious. So Tim, Pikachu, and Rachel get to the Unitas lab, which is supposedly closed down to a rampaging Pokemon on R, which resulted in Rachel's mom's death. So yes, Rachel's mom is dead. They break in after being assisted
Your mother is dead.
Who wants rum ham? They break in after being assisted by all the Pokemon's friends that have shown up. So like Darmanitan, Pangoro, Growlithe, like the whole squad shows up in this really cool scene. Like they're all walking together like a slow walk. Yeah, so as they get to the deepest part of the basement of the Unitas lab, they start to find the motivations of Unitas' actions. So they're being led by Mayor Myers and Charles, that weird scientist from earlier. And Myers is motivated by his desire to protect Rachel, and especially after his wife's death. But Charles has been manipulating him because of that. He's been taking advantage of his emotions to achieve his own goals of combining himself with a Pokemon. So after proving to Myers of what's going on, they realize it's too late, as Charles awakens the Aurora Drop and combines himself with the Deoxys that's inside of it. So Mewtwo then shows up to fight off the Deoxys / Charles hybrid, and prevents him from escaping while Tim and Pikachu try to find a way
They're escaping
to deactivate the machine and undo the fusion. Even after stopping the machine, the fusion is still active, so Pikachu takes the energy capsules that contain his and Harry's energy, and then I think like attacks Deoxys with it, or breaks them or something. And so this returns Charles to his body and Deoxys back into the Aurora Drop. Pikachu is then worn out by this attack and is forced to stay behind as the building collapses and the others escape. So we presume right now that Detective Pikachu is dead.
This guy's got bashed and bloodied.
Yeah. So then Tim is distraught from losing his father twice, because he started like in the middle of it kind of calling him dad, but like also calling, like, it was really weird. But then he sees Pikachu and Harry escape the wreckage and they're back in their own bodies. So Charles is then taken into custody because he's kind of with them as well, so like he gets arrested. And then Rachel and her father reconcile, and Harry is reunited with his family. They live happily ever after. And that is a story tied up for Detective Pikachu. And I highly doubt that we'll get another one, which I really don't think they should, because my god, this felt like more of a slog than the first. I was so sick of playing this game. I genuinely did not like it. And especially at the price point that it was at, it was not worth it.
Right. It's unless it's like completely overhauled, like to be something different. I don't think people would anticipate another one.
It's more of the same shit. Like the only things that were redeemable about this game were the divorce scene and the fact that you could like skip text and like speed through text. That was the best part of the game, is that you could run through it. Detective Pikachu 1 did not have it. But oh my god, I could not stand playing through this game. It was like just okay, I want to be done. I want to be done. Let me do something else. Let me just get through this. And it just was, yeah, they could have done so much more with it had they made the first game like a Sly Cooper-esque game or some kind of espionage game. But it's just basically, it's a glorified point-and-click story game. It's not worth your time. Maybe look at some cutscenes from it. Maybe watch the story of it.
Just watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, watch it on YouTube. But really, though, just watch the movie. The movie was so much better.
It kind of seems like the movie got like the full script of like what the whole Detective Pikachu duology was supposed to be, and then they just adapted that into the movie.
Yeah, because they almost made Mewtwo like a bad guy in the movie because like the character kind of infused his consciousness with Mewtwo, like the main bad guy. So in a way, there's almost that similarity into Detective
Same
Pikachu
thing
2.
with R. They
Yeah.
harvest the. I don't know. They don't say that they harvest the R, but they do say that like they get R from studying Mewtwo.
Yeah, so there are parallels to it, but then on Detective Pikachu 2, it kind of goes on its own thing. But they make a reference to the movie at one point in the game in Detective Pikachu 2. They reference the game as like a joke, which I mean was kind of cute, but that was the furthest that they have any kind of ties to each other.
Also, the movie's like very like focused on the whole Harry and Tim, like that the main case rather than like a small case. They're showing us that Tim even has the ability to be a detective.
Yeah, but that's, I feel like, where the main story is supposed to be, is him finding his father. That's the point of all of it. That's the reason why he wants to be a detective, is to find his dad.
Right. I think the game does it a little bit better by giving you like a bunch of other mysteries before you solve that, which I know also in the movie that we're struggling for time, but there's never like a throwaway line where like Tim has done this before, or Tim has like the intelligence to deduce stuff on his own.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally think he's like an insurance worker before he goes to Rhyme City.
Yeah, it's like I mean, he's also still just like a teenager. So maybe there's like that thing where it's like, oh, he naturally gets it from his father. I don't know. They don't really explain it. It's just like he's there.
I
just
need one line that says, "Wow, Tim, you really remind me of your dad, or you really have a knack for this." But
but it's just like he just naturally has it, and like they don't really elaborate on it. But the person who voices Detective Pikachu did a good job, like in the games. Everybody else is boring and lifeless. Literally the most cardboard ass voice acting I've ever heard. And like, I'm sure like you have what you have, like given a bad script, but it just literally sounds like I'm just reading a script. That's all the characters in Detective Pikachu Returns. It's just,
oh no, they have discovered the plot for me to capture the Aurora drop.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Is this your Pikachu? What is it saying? That's basically how all the inflections are. It is so fucking brainless. We could do a better job.
Gasp. I've been found out. I guess I'll have to turn myself in.
You're tearing me apart, Pikachu. Like, it's so bad. This one was just way more poopy than the first one. And I would not recommend it. Like, at all. It is not great.
So if the first one's a 4 out of 10, what's this one?
This one's a 3 out of 10.
A 3 out of 10.
Yeah, it's a 3. The divorce scene is what it brings it up to, gives it 2 points, and then 1 point for allowing me to skip dialogue. That's it. That's it. I don't really have much else to say about this. Like, they could have done better, and it's not really a game as it is, like, a story. And even then, the story's fine, but it's just not a game. But it is kind of uniquely Pokemon because nobody else really does something like this. Like, you're not going to see, you're not going to, I don't know. I feel like other IPs aren't going to do this unless it's specifically, like, a Telltale title. So, I think that's pretty much it. Unless you have anything else to add.
No, yeah, like you said before, I feel like the potential for a story-driven Pokemon game is there. I mean, the reason I believe that is you got to look at like some of the offshoot like animations, like Twilight Wings, and I don't remember what the Scarlet and Violet one was named. Do you remember what that one was?
No, I don't.
Paldean Winds, that's what it is.
Oh yeah, Paldean Winds.
Twilight was it Twilight Wings? Yeah, Twilight Wings and Paldean Winds, kind of the same thing there.
Yeah.
Both had like really character focused stories that focus on like a select group of people and like what they do with their Pokemon. Like I think the first 3 episodes focuses on 3 students. For Paldean Winds, actually, the overall plot is that the girl's dad is a professor of music at also Naranja Academy. So Naranja Gang Rise Up, Uva Academy doesn't exist.
Fuck
Is like there, and she feels like nepotism. Like she doesn't show her that she's like being picked on, but people are like, wow, like she is like, oh, it must be nice having a dad like that or something like that. So she feels a little ostracized, and doesn't want to like continue playing I don't know, it's probably the flute. So she goes like this is the first episode. She goes to, like the top of Mount Glaciado to like toss it off the mountain with her Fuecoco. And then, like, it's a lot of subtle character building just from, like, the flashbacks and seeing her face and, like, what she's doing.
Yeah.
And I feel more attached to that than I do listening to you rehash, like, what Tim and... Like, I buy her struggle with her father or with her lot in life more so than Tim's family's divorce and... what's going on there.
Yeah, it just felt shoot in to add drama, and it's like, and I feel like that the writing and the vocal delivery was just very off in the Detective Pikachu games, but in like Paldean Winds or something like that, where it's like they're getting like real deal voice actors, and the story's more gripping, and just like the atmosphere around it, it just is way more gripping to me. I feel like that I'm more, like you said, I'm more inclined to believe this story and be more enticed to watch this story than I am with Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, both Twilight Winds and Paldean Winds, I would recommend. They're very short, very quick, but they're like top tier.
Right.
And, it just shows that there is like interest and they have the ability to like craft characters and tell stories. It's just... for whatever reason, the only medium that exists in is very short animations, and it's like I just need that in a game. I need that in a main series Pokemon game with voice acting. The game works.
Yeah,
the
or
graphics.
What was that series that they did for the anniversary of Pokemon with like every video was like a different like generation of battle?
Generations, yeah.
Yeah, that was genuinely one of the coolest thing they've ever released, like animation wise. If they made a game based off of like something like that where you get little bite-sized pieces of each game, I'm in heaven. Like with the Let's Go graphics and they do something like that, oh my god, I'd freak out.
Oh, don't forget Origins, the 4-part episode of the retelling of the original game.
Yeah.
That was good. I just don't know why it's that medium that they choose to go with it. Like
just short YouTube videos, basically.
Right.
Yeah. But also, another great thing that we got out of the Detective Pikachu franchise, we got the Danny DeVito dub.
Yeah, please play that.
Some legend made an edit of Detective Pikachu's trailer with clips of Danny DeVito's character Frank Reynolds from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And it sounds so much better. And so people were petitioning to get Danny DeVito to voice Detective Pikachu in the movie before it came out. And they asked Danny DeVito about it. He's like, what the hell is a Pikachu? And so... yeah, well, they got Ryan Reynolds, which he did a really good job in the movie, by the way. I think he did great for it. He was funny. Like, I mean, yeah, he didn't really do much to be, like, a character. He was just Ryan Reynolds.
It was just Ryan Reynolds,
But, I mean, it was still entertaining. But, right. I mean, Danny DeVito would have been brilliant for that. Right. Yeah, but I think that's pretty much it. So, so actually, before we go, a couple of things I wanted to bring up right now. So, this was actually supposed to be the season finale of... Babblers Season 2.
Right, because there's no more spin-off games.
Yeah, there's pretty much all the spin-off games that we feel like are worth talking about. But the next episode is actually released in a couple days from now. So stay tuned to the channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that kind of stuff. But next episode is coming out in a couple days. And it will be going over... well, I don't want to spoil it. So, yeah, it'll be going over another title, Pokemon
It'll be
game,
complete,
of course.
comprehensive.
Yeah, it completes everything we've been doing for the past couple years. So that's pretty much all I'm going to say on that. Thanks again for listening, for watching. Let us know in the comments if you played Detective Pikachu or Detective Pikachu Returns, what your thoughts on it, or your opinions on what we said, because, I mean, I like to have that discourse in the comments.
Right. Let me know if you absolutely love Detective Pikachu and we're extremely wrong and it's the best game you've ever played. And how much are Pokemon paying you to say that? Let us know.
Right. And also, Bano and I have been pretty active on Twitch lately, so if you want to check that out, link is in the description. And probably by the release of this video, Bono's probably made affiliate at this point on Twitch, so congrats, Bono, in advance.
I don't know. It hasn't updated yet. I don't know why.
At least at the time of recording, but who knows. But yeah, until then, we'll check you all the next episode. Later.
Bye.